quiet village, nestled between rolling hills, there lived a wise old woman named Clara. She was known for her knowledge of herbs, but even more so for her profound understanding of human nature. People came from far and wide to seek her counsel, especially when they faced difficult relationships. One day, a young man named Leo arrived at Clara's doorstep, visibly distressed. He had been working at a local trade shop where he dealt with a particularly toxic coworker named Marcus. Marcus was known for his constant negativity, criticism, and manipulative behavior. Leo felt drained by their interactions and sought Clara's guidance. Clara welcomed him inside her cozy home, where the scent of herbs filled the air. She listened patiently as Leo poured out his heart about Marcus, detailing how the coworker belittled him and spread negativity throughout the shop. After Leo finished, Clara sat quietly for a moment, then decided to share a story. Many years ago, she began, there was a gardener named Thalia. She loved tending to her flowers, nurturing them with care. Each morning she would wake early to water her plants, remove weeds, and ensure they received plenty of sunlight. However, there was one patch in her garden that troubled her, a group of thorny weeds that seemed to thrive despite her efforts. Leo leaned forward, intrigued. At first, Thalia tried to ignore the weeds, hoping they would wither away. But instead, they grew stronger, wrapping their thorns around her delicate flowers, choking them slowly. Frustrated, she began to pull them out, but the thorns pierced her hands. Each time she tried, the pain became a deterrent. What did she do? Leo asked, eager to know the resolution. One day, while resting in her garden, she noticed how her flowers were wilting, their colors fading. Thalia realized that the more she focused on the weeds, the more her flowers suffered. So she decided to change her approach. Instead of battling the weeds directly, she began to care for her flowers even more deeply. She enriched the soil, added compost, and watered them regularly. Gradually, her flowers regained their vibrancy. Leo nodded, beginning to understand. With time, Clara continued, the flowers grew stronger and began to outcompete the weeds for sunlight and nutrients. Eventually, Thalia could prune the weeds without fear of hurting her flowers, and she learned that sometimes letting go of the struggle is the best way to thrive. But what about Marcus? Leo asked, still concerned. I can't just ignore him. Clara smiled gently. The weeds in Thalia's garden represent toxic people like Marcus. It's not about engaging in a constant battle with them, but rather about nurturing your own well-being. Focus on your strengths, invest in your growth, and let your inner light shine. When you prioritize your mental health, the negativity around you will have less power. Inspired by Clara's story, Leo felt a sense of relief wash over him. He began to see Marcus not as a source of anxiety, but as an opportunity to cultivate resilience. He decided to set boundaries, ensuring he wouldn't allow Marcus's negativity to seep into his own spirit. Leo started practicing self-care, dedicating time to his hobbies and friendships that uplifted him. Over the following weeks, Leo implemented changes. He engaged with his supportive coworkers, shared laughs, and found joy in his work. Whenever Marcus attempted to drag him down with complaints or criticisms, Leo responded calmly and politely, refusing to engage in negativity. Instead, he redirected conversations to positive topics or simply smiled and walked away. As time passed, Leo noticed that Marcus's impact on him diminished. The more Leo flourished, the less he felt the need to battle the toxic influence. One day, while sharing a laugh with his friends at work, Marcus approached, looking puzzled. "What's happened to you?" he asked, genuinely confused by Leo's newfound lightness. "I'm focusing on what brings me joy," Leo replied, a smile on his face. "I hope you find it too." With that simple statement, Leo refused to be dragged into the weeds again. Inspired by Leo's transformation, Marcus began to reflect on his behavior. While he remained a work in progress, he gradually noticed how his negativity isolated him from others. Though he didn't change overnight, he started to engage with his coworkers more positively, drawn to the light they exuded. Clara's story had taken root in Leo's heart. He learned that by cultivating his own garden, he could create an environment where toxic influences struggled to thrive. He also understood that dealing with toxic people doesn't always mean confronting them directly. Sometimes the most effective strategy is to enrich your own life. As Leo prepared to leave Clara's home, he turned to her with gratitude. "Thank you, Clara. Your story has changed how I see my situation." Clara smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Remember, my dear, you cannot control the actions of others, but you can control how you respond. By nurturing your own spirit, you create a life where negativity has no place. Embrace your flowers, and they will flourish." In life, we often encounter toxic people who drain our energy and undermine our happiness. Dealing with those toxic people is challenging, but it is an inevitable part of life. The key to navigating these relationships lies not in direct confrontation, but in nurturing our own well-being. Instead of engaging in battles that drain your energy, by focusing on personal growth, self-care, setting boundaries, and surrounding ourselves with positivity, we can cultivate an environment where toxicity struggles to thrive. Remember, you can't control others' behavior, but you can always control your response. Also, understand that your happiness does not depend on others' behavior. When you invest in your own flourishing, you will create a positive environment, allowing you to live a life filled with joy and positivity. And don't hesitate to distance yourself from negativity when needed if it is crossing the boundaries. You need to take action and set clear boundaries in those situations. But most of the other cases, ignorance works well for toxic people. Remember, the best response to negativity is to shine your light brighter, allowing your inner garden to flourish despite the weeds around you.